Welcome back. This is COM 1160, week number 2. I hope that your first week went very well. I know that you didn't really have an opportunity to do any of the fun orientation activities that Niagara College usually has when we're not in a pandemic, but I hope that you found a way to celebrate the huge achievement of finishing your first week. In week number 2, we're diving right in, and this week we're going to be doing an introduction to research and the library system at Niagara College. For week number 2, we're going to be covering the importance of research and learning how to navigate through our library systems. There will be an assignment this week, and I'm going to be asking you to complete it by September 20th at midnight. I'll give you more information and walk you through the complete assignment in a later video. Remember that I'm also going to be creating a number of short videos in chunks. So this is the first video in a series of videos that's going to introduce research methods and that's going to talk about our library system. When I get to walking through the library system, it's probably going to be useful to expand to full screen for ease of reading because I'm going to be showing you different places to click and how to actually use our systems. Let's talk about research to start off. You've all been engaged in some form of research, whether that was in secondary school or whether you were researching a topic just for your own interest. As a healthcare worker now, research is going to be an essential element of what you do. Solid research is very, very important, and we all have heard about fake news and the different types of things that are happening in terms of how people are spreading information. A timely example is really just to look at what's going on with COVID-19 right now. I know when I go on the internet, I see tons of information, some of which is reliable and some of which is pretty questionable. You see all sorts of information about potential cures or potential vaccines, and you're not sure where the information is coming from or whether it's information that you can rely on. As a healthcare worker, solid research is especially important because there is harmful material available out there on the external web relating to medical or dental issues. All you would need to do is Google any kind of condition, and you'll see that websites will pop up giving all sorts of crazy information and advice about how to deal with that particular condition. It really is scary because a lot of this stuff could harm or even kill people. As a healthcare worker, it's going to be your responsibility to make sure that you're looking at material that you can rely on. We're going to talk about some safety nets that are in place to help you make sure that any information that you're accessing is stuff that is authentic, truthful, and that could be passed along to patients. It's time to say goodbye to Dr. Google. I know that the first instinct whenever you're looking up a health condition or anything at all related to medicine or dentistry, the first inclination is to open up Google, Google the term, and see what you find. Unfortunately, because Google doesn't have any kind of safety net or restrictions, you're not going to be doing this anymore. Google is great if you want to look up some information about new styles of jeans that are out there or a recipe for a chocolate cake, but it's not reliable for medical information. You're going to be conducting research as a student for your classes. So professors will be giving you assignments and asking you to do research on particular topics, but you're also going to be doing research as a professional. So as you're working with patients, you'll need to learn more about specific conditions or treatments. All of this information is going to become really, really important. So we're going to focus on how to do research properly and how to do research as a healthcare professional using the same tools that you'll be using throughout your days as a student and your days as a professional after you graduate. There's all sorts of different types of secondary material out there. And when we talk about secondary material, we're talking about material that's been published for people in the field and for those that are interested in healthcare related topics. There's 4 big types, okay? The first would be traditional books. So books that are actually hard copy, printed out on paper, and that are published. The second is ebooks, and those have been around maybe the last 10 or 15 years or so. They're exactly the same as a paper book, but obviously they're only available in electronic copy. Another source is the external web. There is some useful information that's on the external web, but you need to be very, very careful when you're looking at external material. And then finally, there's something that may be new to you. These are academic journal articles from medical sources. These are the gold standard in terms of medical and dental research, and they're published exclusively for people that are working in the healthcare industry. I know you're probably all familiar with regular books and ebooks, but as I mentioned, you may not be as familiar with academic journal articles. So I wanted to tell you a little bit about them so that you know what to expect. There are literally thousands and thousands of academic journals ranging from general coverage of healthcare issues to highly specific topics. So there are general medical journals that cover all sorts of different conditions and treatments. And then there's very specialized journals that only deal with a specific disease or condition. There is all sorts of different topics. Literally, if there's a condition or an issue that's out there in healthcare, you'll find a corresponding academic journal for it. And they're published all over the world. Think of them like magazines for healthcare professionals. Way back in the day, before everything became electronic, these journals would actually publish as hard copy. So people that were working in healthcare would subscribe to specific journals, and they would be mailed out every so often so that you could read about what was current in the field. One really important distinction with academic journals is that most go through a process called peer review. And peer review is one of those safety nets that protects you as a healthcare worker to make sure that the information that you're getting is authentic and truthful. Peer review is a process whereby before the journal decides to publish a specific article, it sends that article out to experts in the field to review, to guarantee that the information is helpful, that the information is current, and that the information is reliable. If the people who are reviewing it don't think that the article is legitimate, they will decline that article and it will not be published. It's a very rigorous process. I could write an article about anything. I could say that I found the cure for cancer and that the cure for cancer is Timbits. If I were to write that article up and submit it, peer review would catch that, right? They would say, wow, this person is absolutely insane. There is no way that cancer can be cured with Timbits. They'd give it a thumbs down, and the academic journal article would not publish it. Academic journal articles are also great because they give you the most current information on a topic. The turnaround time for an academic journal is much shorter than the turnaround for a paper book or an ebook. So stuff is actually published faster. It still takes a bit of time between when somebody writes an article and it actually appears in a journal. It goes through that peer review process, and then obviously it has to be edited and they have to apply graphic design and stuff to it. But you can get the information a lot faster through academic journal articles. It really is the gold standard of research. So your best bet is to always start with academic journal articles whenever you're looking up information. It is considered to be the most authoritative and the most academic. One thing to remember is that you're just starting your journey as a healthcare worker. And at first, when you look at academic journal articles, they can be difficult to understand. Cut yourself some slack. You're still building your vocabulary in the world of dentistry or the world of medicine. And as you go further and further, more and more of these journal articles will become accessible to you. It's important not to get discouraged when you first start. So, it's a long process of, taking a look at academic journal articles, maybe reading through them more slowly, looking up words that you're unfamiliar with. But again, as I said, as you get more and more familiar with the terminology used in your area, you'll find that this stuff becomes more and more accessible. Another thing to remember is that there's different types of articles. So just like a regular magazine might have a feature on fashion and then another article on horoscopes and then maybe another article on cooking, academic journal articles have different types or different purposes behind them. And I've put a handout for you in the week 2 folder that goes over the different types of journal articles that exist. And I'm going to ask you to read through that particular handout so that you're familiar with the kind of things that you're going to start to see as you're jumping into these academic journals and taking a look at what's there. It's also important whenever you're looking at any source, but especially when you're looking at material that might be on the external web, or you're looking at books that may not have necessarily gone through peer review, to run it through something called Bystrom's CRAP test. And Bystrom's CRAP test lets you determine whether what you're looking at is authentic and reliable, or whether, to be quite frank, it's a piece of crap. I put a handout for you up on our week 2 folder that goes through the CRAP test. I'm just going to pull it up here as well so that you can take a look at it. And we'll discuss what makes something a piece of crap or not. Okay, bear with me now. I'm just going to try to increase the size of this so that you can see it. Again, you might want to make sure that you make your screen as large as you can. Okay, here's the handout on Bystrom's CRAP test. So when you're looking at a website, an article, a book, you want to consider 4 different things. You want to consider the currency of the information, the reliability of the information, the authority or the accuracy, as well as the purpose or the point of view. Let's take a look at currency first. One of the first things that you want to do is address how old the information is. If you're doing a research paper on treatments for cancer, you don't necessarily want to look at things that were, say, published in the 1960s or 1970s, because the way we treat cancer has radically changed over that time. So ask yourself how recent the information is. Look for a date. Some professors will actually put a restriction on, and some will say you're only allowed to look at things from the past 5 years or the past 10 years. But, right, as a general practice, you should be assessing as well how recent the information is. You want to also consider the reliability, okay, of the information. Ask yourself what kind of information is included in the resource. And ask yourself whether the content is primarily opinion or whether it's fact. Are you seeing something that somebody has put together with an agenda? Or are you seeing something that's balanced and looks at a variety of things? Also, take a look. Is the creator of the resource that you're looking at referencing or sourcing their data or their quotations? If they're not, that's probably a red flag. If they are, then you know they too have engaged in some research. You want to take a look at the authority or the accuracy of information that's being published out there. Your first question should be, who is the creator or the author, and what are their credentials? Again, right, there is nothing to stop anyone from putting information out on the web about any topic that's out there. You want to make sure that you're relying on information from people that actually are working in healthcare. So watch for those designations, MD for medical doctor, RN or RPN or PSW or DA for dental assistant. You want to make sure that they have gone through the process of education. You also want to consider the purpose or the point of view. What is the reason that this particular author or authors have put out this information? Do they have an agenda? Is it fair, or is the information biased? Also, see if the creator or author is trying to sell you something. Are they trying to sell you a particular medication? Are they trying to sell you a particular device or treatment protocol? If so, be very, very cautious because, again, their information may be biased towards trying to change your opinion about their particular product. Really, it all comes down to common sense. Ask questions when you're looking at stuff and make sure that the information that you're looking at passes this crap test, that you've considered these different factors before you go ahead and use that information. Excuse me. Make sure that you're comfortable and you know that the information that you're getting is accurate and responsible. In our next video, we're going to start diving into how to actually find all of these materials through our library system. Thanks for listening, and I'll talk to you in our next video.